What's up? What's up? Welcome to another market recap. Today is April 24th, 2025. So I had no trades today, surprisingly. Everything that I pretty much had on watch either didn't pull back to present an entry, besides maybe one pair. But let's get into it. So 7 a.m. To start off, I had dollar CAD and dollar Huff. So dollar CAD, if we go back in time here, something like that. Ignore this guy right here. Was a CBO. And so I'm sitting here, it has a nice kind of wave one break of a pattern. It's kind of lines up as a IBO on the 1 hour time frame, CBO on the 10-minute, CBO on the 2-minute. Had everything I was really looking for, and it pulled back a little bit, but it didn't pull back to 0.382. It didn't pull back to an EMA or anything. So it's like, I even position size this a tad above 0.382 to make sure I got the entry. It just didn't pull back fully and had a small little pullback and then ran straight to target. So after it ran to target, I wasn't really interested in taking it anymore. But we'll get into this position later on once we go through this watch list. It's something I want to talk about today because it's starting to get rather fascinating with these MBOs. The other pair I had on watch was dollar Huff in this hour. So dollar Huff did present an entry. This would be a 2-minute IBO, right? So clear kind of choppy little break of this trend, but a nice push right here coming back for a retest. You can see it here. The issue with this pair is I was looking at it, and I've got most of the dollar exotics on watch to see if they're ever tradable, but sometimes their spreads are just pretty astronomical. And that's what the case was with this pair. It was a 17 pip position size, and my spread went from 8 to 17 pips constantly. So, i.e., I couldn't really take this trade. I saw it. I wish the spread was tighter, because if so, I would have taken the trade, and it would have played out. It is a valid trade. It's a nice little IBO. You had good kind of horizontal support from your hourly chart. There's nothing really in the way. You've got room to move to the target. Everything was pretty much there. It's just the spread kept me out of it. So dollar CAD, I didn't get the pullback I was looking for, and dollar Huff, I couldn't enter and do the spread. The 8 o'clock hour, I had Euro Pound and Kiwi Yen on watch. Mainly the one I was watching was Euro Pound right here. And it had this break of like this previous trend. It's a little bit of a shallow break, but it's a break. And it did give a pullback and an entry. I chose not to take this trade though, because I really didn't like this 10-minute time frame, as well as the 1 hour time frame. If I took the trade, I'd be trading back into the 1 hour 50, the 10-minute 200. It's previously rejected it already, hence what's caused the pullback. So I would have to be really confident in this trade to trade through those levels for a second time. And I really just wasn't. So I didn't love this kind of price action break. I mean, it is a break of a trend, but just not a strong one. But for the 10-minute and the 1 hour, I decided to stay out of this one. And as you can see, I chose correctly because it ended up being a loss. So likely if I entered the trade, I would have entered here and then I would have done P1 on the break of this. So I would have been clipped right there, and I more than likely would have taken like a 0.3, 0.4 loss on this trade. Kiwi yen was in the same hour. I guess you can classify it maybe as a CBO, but again, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this trade. It had a nice kind of like breakdown right here, and coming back to retest this like horizontal level that's been previously respected a couple of times. So it was interesting. But at the same time I was watching this pair, I was watching the Aussie and Kiwi pairs start to explode, like bullish, which is the opposite bias of this trade. And then as well as I was watching yen pairs weaken. So it's like the price action looked okay on this, but again, similar to euro pound, I'm trading right back into a level that had been previously rejected, the 10-minute 200, the 1 hour 50. And I wasn't super confident in this setup. And in a way, you had like an inverse head and shoulders kind of here, you know? So I was waiting to see how price reacted to this area, but at the same time, I'm also watching the other yen pairs. I'm watching the other Aussie and Kiwi pairs in my second monitor, and they're all doing opposite things to this. And so due to the price action and the correlation kind of bias, I chose to sit out of this trade as well. So if I would have taken this trade, it would have triggered me in here. I would be pretty much P1 on this break right here. I would have clipped this high. And again, I would have been taken out of this trade for a 0.3, 0.4 loss. So 2 losses essentially avoided right here. So that was those 4 trades. I had nothing the 9 o'clock or the 10 o'clock hour. The 11 o'clock hour, I had dollar yen here. And this is the only trade today that I think I could enter, but I also couldn't. Where we go? Where is my cursor? There we go. So I was watching this pair, right? I'd been watching this kind of develop and this break down slowly over the course of a couple of hours, between 9 and 10 o'clock or so, and started watching this kind of pattern form, and then it had a nice break of it. To an extent, the thing that kind of sketched me out about this trade, and that really kept me out of it, I mean, I was going to enter it right here, but it actually missed my entry by like a pip. So just a very small margin right here. It didn't trigger me in, and then price kind of reversed. So the way I was looking at this is like, if you look at the 10-minute time frame, I would prefer for this to shoot up on the 10-minute, the 2-minute, and like the 10-minute, right? Like I want it to all be aligned. I want an equal kind of just push here. But what I got is like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. It's kind of how I've read this. And then it's like this choppiness. And so this pullback at this point can either, tap and go the direction I would like it to, or it starts forming a new trend, like another trend reversal here. So it's these kind of waves right here is what sketched me out about it. I liked the overall 10-minute. I liked the 1 hour, right? Like the 1 hour, you got a nice, wave 1, wave 2, IBO, breakout. This is like a wave 5 CBO is what this would be. So the 1 hour chart's there. The 10-minute chart, it has a nice break of this overall trend. So it's there. It's just really the 2-minute and 30-second time frames. I didn't love this price action right here. I just wished it was a more, single kind of push, or maybe even like this and then another push up this way. And I was playing like a wave 5 CBO, or I could classify it as like an ACB kind of pullback on the 30-second, and then like a wave 5 CBO on the 2-minute. But either way, it formed the way it did. I was still, given the fact of the 10-minute and the 1 hour price action, I was going to entertain taking it. It just didn't trigger me in. So after it started to push and broke the 30-second EMA, the way I'm looking at this trade at this point is like, all right, if I was in this trade, if it went 1 pip lower and triggered me, I would be at P1 right now. So I'd be clipping this low. And on a clip of that low, price would, done its thing. And eventually right here on this retracement, it would have taken me out. And for nearly a break even, like a very small loss, like 0.1 maybe. But then like I draw on this line, and as I'm sitting here looking at it, all of a sudden price explodes right here. And granted, on this explosion of price, it's kind of past my entry point, but I'm sitting here watching and I'm like, maybe there's a retracement. I mean, maybe I could reposition what this entry would look like, But ultimately, the way I looked at this is like, if I was triggered right here and I was at P1, I would be out of this trade right here. And I don't really do re-entries. So at this point, this trade would be a loss, and it'd be what it is. And however it plays out is how it plays out. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's two trains of thoughts here. There's that train of thought, or there's a second entry. There's a live entry right here, and you could take that too. And I think this live entry is pretty valid. He had a large kind of price movement here, so you've got some bullish pressure coming in, and then the trade started to push after that. And I don't think it really played out for the full 2. Yeah, I mean, if I was in this trade, I likely would have captured 1 just due to where I had to enter it at. Because if I did enter this trade, I'd probably be something like that. So I'd just be tapping 1 here. If I was just tapping 1, I would probably be moving to break even, and then I'd get tapped for a break even. It's the same kind of result as the first entry. The only way I think to really capture anything from this trade is to not do any management whatsoever. So really off of the first entry was the best price, but that limit order, if it would have triggered. With the no trigger there, then there's a live entry. But for me to be able to capture anything in this movement, I would have had to employ no management and just let the trade slowly play out over time. But even still, I don't think I wouldn't have captured anything. It would have been a full loss if I did no management, because I would have entered here. My stop would now be right there. And so on this, it would have missed my target in this push. And then on this breakdown right here, it would have clipped me out. So basically the only way to capture anything from this trade would be to enter live or another second kind of limit order right here. But at least from like my management style, my entry style right now, I don't think there really was a way for me to capture anything from this. So but either way, that was the 11 o'clock hour. At the same time, there was this dollar Singapore that I was looking at. And this is an exotic again, so it has a bit of a spread. But I'm watching this kind of move in tandem with the dollar yen, because there's a little bit of correlation there. Not a ton, but a little bit. And I'm mainly at the time, too, waiting to take dollar yen. Dollar yen was my primary. And by the time that I really would have been out of this trade, like dollar Singapore is giving an entry, that I just chose to stay out of it ultimately. So go back in time and look at what this looked like. It mainly chose to stay out of it due to, again, kind of the 10-minute time frame. Like the 2 minute time frames, all right, I like it. It's okay. I mean, I drew this trend line in and it's applicable, but I didn't love it. But again, the 10-minute time frame, it really just didn't align with my bias. Like it's hitting resistance. So, and what I've been finding is like when I'm this middle time frame is kind of against my bias of if I'm trying to trade an IBO or CBO on the 2 minute, most of the time the trade then fails. I mean, it failed on Euro Pound, it failed on Kiwi Yen, and then ultimately it also failed on this dollar Singapore with not having that full alignment in the 10-minute time frame. So I didn't take either one of these trades. And then there's this Aussie CAD, but this Aussie CAD wasn't a real trade. I was watching it and looking for like a nice breakdown to maybe get an IBO, but never really got a solid break and then like a pullback. Just got this kind of, slow transition down, riding the EMA the whole time, which isn't really something I can trade. But this does kind of fit into this MBO strategy that I'm now seeing a lot. And there's an entry for it. And I was watching at the time. Granted, I don't actively trade this strategy right now, but I got some more examples today of how this strategy would have been effective. I think it's 4 total examples, and we'll get into that in a sec. So really nothing on watch at 12 o'clock, and then 1 o'clock, I had some CAD pairs. Again, just kind of ignore this, but my main trade I was looking at was this CAD Yen. Kind of similar to dollar CAD earlier in the day, like the first trade of the day, dollar CAD here, CAD Yen was pretty similar to that. Nice little break of this trend, clean break on your 2-minute and your 10-minute, like both these time frames align, as well as it's in alignment with like a wave 5 CBO on the 1 hour. Like technically this could be classified as a wave 2 CBO and a wave 3 CBO, and then you have like a second shot at another kind of wave 5 CBO right here. So all my 1 hour, 10-minute, and 2-minute time frames are all in alignment. I just didn't get the pullback to value to allow me to enter. So very similar to the dollar CAD trade. It didn't pull back within a pip or anything. It just had a very small pullback and then pushed. So it kind of is what it is. So unfortunately, no real entry on CAD Yen. I was also watching CAD Swiss, similar concept, just not as great of price action, but it was there. And it didn't pull back to value. And then I was also watching Euro CAD. It was kind of my least favorite of the bunch because at the time, like you had a nice kind of bearish candle right here on the 1 hour, but it's still sitting right at the EMAs. Granted, you have this nice kind of break of an overall trend on the 2-minute, and it's still applies. Like if you copy and paste this line here, it applies to the 10-minute. And there is a break of the 10-minute 50. So, and it has room to move to the 10-minute 200. So it was there and it played out relatively. It just did not pull back all the way. I mean, this is the closest one to entry. If my entry criteria was like 2 pips lower, I would have been able to get into this trade. But since it's not currently, it didn't pull back fully to value for me. So I wasn't able to trade it. So yeah, an interesting day. There's a lot of stuff just not pulling back to value so that I could enter. Or it was setups that did pull back to value, but the 10-minute time frame or the 1 hour time frame kind of didn't line up with my 2-minute bias. So causing me to stay out of the trades, which in those cases, I called it correctly and saved myself from some losses. But there really wasn't a way for me to capture any R today that I can see other than these MBO strategies. So if we get into the MBO stuff, right? Let's go back. Let's get out of replay. Let's go back to CAD Yen. Copy and paste this back down here. So really, I think the best pair to talk about this is dollar CAD, because dollar CAD has had 3 MBOs in the past like 24 hours, right? Like we talked about this MBO right here yesterday. You know, it just price is was hitting, you know, the EMAs, and as well as you could draw in a horizontal support line right here. It's wave 1, so you kind of play in the wave 2 pullback. So it fits within a daily strategy of playing WTF, so a wave 2 or a wave 4 pullback play. It has like price, you know, squeezes. It has a triangle pattern. It breaks the pattern. You enter on the break of the pattern on the 2-minute. You clip the recent high and then just put a 2-to-1 target. And what I'm now starting to track is like, does it matter if the 2-to-1 target is, if anything's in the way of it? Like, does it matter if the 10-minute 50 is in the way, or the 1 hour 50 is in the way, or whatever? So, I mean, in a perfect world, I know it's best to have nothing in the way of your target. But what's interesting about these MBOs is that they seem to be like most powerful when you're applying a daily strategy. So a 1 hour strategy, like trying to target a 1 hour run. So for instance, like there's this WTF play, but that's a pullback play. Like a main play is where this starts to get interesting to me, is this is a 1 hour IBO. Like granted, it's already kind of rejected the target, but the price action is still there. It's still a wave 1, wave 2 pullback. You still will have probably a wave 3 here, and you did. But you have like a consolidation of price. You have a pattern. You break the pattern. It's pushing off of support. It's been previously respected. So you have the bullish price action. You have essentially what I'm looking to see, but I'm looking to see this breakout and a pullback for me to get into it, like right there. Like, and that's the first trade of the day that I was looking for, which would have given me a 2-minute CBO. But I never got the pullback I was looking for. But these MBOs, they always will grant an entry. Like as soon as it breaks the pattern, you can take the trade. So it will always present an entry, which is interesting. There is no like waiting for a pullback. You're sitting here, you identify the pattern, you watch it develop, and then you're waiting for a pattern break, and you enter on the pattern break. That's how I'm currently doing these. And then you just stop clip below the lows of the pattern. But with that same kind of concept in mind, I'm now thinking of like, all right, well, if I was trading this IBO on the 1 hour time frame, I would be targeting these recent highs. And the price action is still relatively there for an IBO on the 1 hour. But I'm able to enter with this MBO, which is an entry that I probably would be taking as a daily IBO. So I am able to get like a tighter position size and then stretch this target to like the 1 hour IBO target for a 4-to-1, essentially. And this trade would have played out today. So the management is what I've got to figure out on how you would manage this accurately. So I'm starting to just pay attention to them. And on this trade, I don't think you really could have done much until price really started to push. But even like right here, you'd be sitting at 1.5 or so R. So you could take it. Or if you want to capture 4R, I don't feel like you could do anything right here. If I kind of think about it from my normal management now, like I don't do anything until the halfway point. So in this position size, like it would be doing nothing until price reaches 2R. As far as like locking in profit. So I don't think you can choke these. I think you have to like give it room for it to breathe. And the way that I was thinking about, like this particular one, I think the correct way would manage it if you're looking at the 10-minute time frame, because on the daily setup, I use the 10-minute time frame to manage like a 1 hour IBO. So I think I can enter with this 2-minute kind of MBO setup and then manage it really kind of off the 10-minute time frame is what seems to be the correct move. And if that is, then price pushes, right? And it breaks that 50. On the break of that 50, I technically would be clipping the lows, but I'm already clipped on the lows on the entry. So I can't do anything there. Like I'm still going to be at full risk. So the P1 isn't going to be applicable, I don't think, per the strategy. Like you're going to be at a full risk until you're able to execute like a P2, which would be a break of the 10, a retest of the 10, and then a follow through. And on that follow through right there, I think I could do P2. And at that point, I would clip those lows, right? And I'd clip the lows like right here. And removing at that point the majority of the risk. Like I'd have 0.1 or 0.2 or so on the table, and that's about it. And then you just let it ride until it pushes into your 2 area. And then you got a decision to make. Like once it gets into the 2 area, or do you go aggressive and lock the 2? Because if so, then you'd capture 2R on this trade. Or do you like draw in a trend and just let price follow the trend, and when it breaks that trend, at that point exit for whatever you can get. So I mean, it's still likely going to be above 1R. In this case, even if it broke right here, you're still capturing 1.4, 1.5 or so. So the management style, I think, has to be a little bit looser. That's what it seems like to me. But price just continued to push, and then ultimately hitting the target. So the IBO on the 1 hour time frame plays out. It gives you an MBO entry, but you could capture 4R. And that's what's fascinating to me. So it's like you can combine. I could, in a sense, look for daily IBOs and CBOs. And then when I identify them, switch down to this 2-minute time frame and start looking for price action to be forming patterns for an MBO, and then enter it on an MBO with a stop clip. For instead of 2-to-1s for 4-to-1s. Or realistically, most of the time with an IBO, like I'd be shooting for a 1-to-1 to the recent highs on the 1 hour chart, and then a 2-to-1 would be a little bit above it. So if I targeted the same 2-to-1 target as the IBO on the 1 hour, this would be an 8-to-1 trade. And I've been seeing these patterns now in these trades for a couple weeks. I mean, we saw this one yesterday. I saw this one this morning. Granted, I didn't start trading until 7, and this occurred at like, 6 o'clock. So I saw this after. I wasn't present to watch, to even think about entering right here. But I was present for later in the day when another MBO forms. And it's kind of another, WTF play. You got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and you have a wave 4 pullback, right? And price starts consolidating at a resistance level, and the EMAs. So it's starting to hit some pretty decent resistance. Price is forming a triangle pattern, and it breaks. And you can enter on the break, stop clip above the highs, a 2-to-1 target, and it plays out almost flawlessly. So if you go back in time here, right, there was nothing in the way on this trade 10-minute wise. So there's no EMAs in the way. There's nothing really in the way on the 1-hour chart. So it's got a clean path to the target, and it had an easy time hitting it. So in a perfect world, I think this is mainly what you're looking for when it comes to playing a wave 2 or a wave 4 pullback with an MBO. But yeah, it's fascinating. So it's 3 different opportunities at an MBO, and all of these MBOs played out depending on how you manage them. But if you went pretty loose on the management, there's 2R, 4R, another 2R. So there's 8R in the past 2 days on this one pair in 3 different trades that was available. It was capturable. So, oh, I totally forgot as well. I did also have dollar CAD on watch again at the 12 o'clock hour during this Aussie CAD stuff. And I was looking to take this trade. Like, I saw this breakdown, I saw this potential MBO, and I position sized it like if I were to enter it live, because I was watching this live, and then watch this kind of easily play out. But also, like, it still has the IBO to possibly play out. And this is normally what I trade, is I wait for the breakdown and then the pullback. But the MBO allows me to get in for just the original breakdown. So, and you still have confirmation of, because you're entering on a breakdown, you're entering on the pattern break. So it's not like an ABO, like an advanced breakout, where I'm entering somewhere, up here at the top, and I'm just trying to time it so precisely that I hit it. Well, that's why I don't like taking ABOs, because you got to enter it somewhere inside of the pattern before it breaks out. You got to be confident that it's going to break out, but you could still enter it, here, and then price starts to retrace, never breaks this pattern, and then reverses, and then breaks the top end of it. In those cases, you're taking a loss on that trade. In this case, like, it's an ABO, but you're entering on the confirmation breakdown and just stop clipping. So it's fascinating. But I was sitting here watching this dollar CAD trade, and it pulled back to within like a pip again, to allowing me to get in the trade. It got very close. Same thing as first thing in the morning, but it never really triggered me, and then continued downwards. And then this trade just ran from here. So, it just ran. So realistically, depending on how real loose you wanted to get with this MBO management, you could just take your 2-to-1, or you could have wrote it for 6R. The same kind of setup. Are you going to really capture 6R? Probably not. But could you capture 4R on this? I think so. But you got to trade through some levels. I think the safest thing to do is just target 2R on these wave 2, wave 4 kind of 1-hour pullbacks. But on your wave 3, wave 5 IBOs and CBOs, you can position size them for 4-to-1 or 8-to-1, depending on, what the 1-hour time frame looks like, what's in the way. Like, is it a solid 1-hour setup? So yeah, that's 3 different MBOs right here for 8R. And then there was this Aussie CAD play in the 12 o'clock hour as well. So this was after dollar CAD had given its MBO. I'm sitting here watching this kind of form, and it's just This is a bit of a discretionary one, I would say, because it doesn't fit necessarily into a 1 hour pattern. It just is hitting recent 1 hour resistance and is forming a triangle. Price is kind of consolidating up to that level, but it breaks the pattern. So you enter on a pattern break and you stop clip. And this trade, you'd still be in it if you're really loose on management, but you'd be in profit. Or potentially you lock 1R. It really just depends on the management style of this trade. So this is one I'm still watching. We'll see how it plays out. And then I think like CAD yen right here, as well as it has a wave 5 CBO play, but it also can be entered as an MBO. And currently you'd still be in this trade and you'd be sitting at, probably roughly 2R. So I imagine 160, what is that? It's going to be 1320 for 2R. Yeah, so you'd be above 2R right now. So you can either lock it, go super aggressive, or you just continue to let price play out and do its thing. Right? But yeah, the MBO stuff is starting to get pretty fascinating. The more I'm starting to see it, the more I'm paying attention for it. They seem to be pretty prevalent. And it seems to be most powerful when you combine it with a 1 hour setup. So, yeah, this dollar CAD pair is just kind of crazy. The opportunities that were there, like there's no missing entries on this because you're not waiting for pullbacks. You're just waiting for the break. On the break, you enter and you stop clip. And technically, you got better stop protection here on this break than you would trying to enter the CBO later on, even with a stop clip. So yeah, it's fascinating. It'll be something I keep diving into and paying attention to. And I think I said yesterday that I'm starting to think about actively trading this kind of style come next month. So yeah. So either way, no trades for me today. Still sitting at like 1.14R for the week, I think. So hopefully some stuff becomes available tomorrow, that some good quality setups that pulls back and allows us to get in, and can make a quick 2, 3, 4R would be nice tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. See you.